Welcome to a new series of the Scrappy Business Owner podcast, where I teach you how to build your business from the ground up. So in this episode, we are going to be talking about the very basics of starting a business. That means figuring out what your business is going to be and picking out a name. So if you are a new business owner, you've never owned a business before, nor do you have any family members that have started a business, then you are in good company. I was exactly where you have been. I had no idea what I was doing. We are just winging it as small business owners. And so I wanted to figure out how I could teach you how to do this based on my experience. So as an entrepreneur, and a new entrepreneur at that, you have nobody around to give you any coaching, which is the whole purpose of what this podcast is going to be. And so as we figure out what your business is going to be, it is important to understand that as an entrepreneur, you have lots of ideas. That's just what happens. We have lots of different things that we want to do, and God has given us some pretty cool gifts and talents that we can use. And so the best part about starting a business is trying to narrow it down. I say it's the best part because it's the most interesting and it's the most important. It's also the one that is the most flexible. So first off, I want to encourage you, as you are starting your business, it is not going to look the same now as what it will years later. When I started my business 10 years ago, I had a completely different logo. I started with a partnership. I had plans to do a specific thing with my business, and 10 years later, it's completely different. So know when you are committing to starting a business, it's going to change. You're going to have to pivot. Things are going to rock your world. And if I think about it, in the 10 years that I have been in business, in the middle of all of that, we had a global pandemic. So things have changed quite a bit over the years. So just come in with some flexibility when it comes to starting your business. Okay, will you promise me that? Let me know in the comments. If you're watching on YouTube, let me know in the comments about how you feel about that. Okay, so let's talk about picking out your business, whatever you want to do. So with God giving you the gifts and the talents that you have, you're going to have to narrow those babies down. Now, some of them might be interchangeable and connected, but I want you to have a general idea of what you want to do. Now, the first thing that I want you to encourage you to do is to pray about, what do you want me to do, God? What is the thing that you really want me to do? Find a scripture that you can stand on when it comes to what you want to do, and ask God for help. That is the best thing that you can do. Now, the next thing I want you to do is I want you to think about something that you actually love doing. You know, sometimes God gives us talents that we don't really enjoy right away. So we might have to kind of work those a little bit when it comes to it. But chances are there is something inside of those gifts and talents that you can actually pull a little nugget out of and take it and run with it. So I want you to think about that. I want you to pray about it, and I want you to talk to some trusted people. You can talk to your spouse. You can talk to some family members. Now, I want to encourage you, as you are talking to those people, it's just important for you to have a conversation with another entrepreneur at some point. So if you have a family member or a spouse that hasn't been an entrepreneur before, yes, you can definitely bounce ideas off of. My husband was not an entrepreneur, but I had an opportunity to talk to him, and he was really good at giving me advice. But it's also important to get connected with other business owners who have started their businesses too, because they have a lot of wisdom that they can give you when it comes to picking out your business name, whatever you want to do, and then they might be able to give you some information as far as okay, don't do this, definitely do this. So it's always good to be around people that also know what it's like to be a business owner. So I want to encourage you to do that. Okay, so you're going to narrow them down. You're going to pray. You're going to ask God what He wants you to do. Actually, I have one of my clients, Carol, she does a podcast where she talks about how you can have a relationship with God and talk to Him, just like you and I would be talking in a meeting. She talks about that. So I want to encourage you. I'll put her information in the show notes, but she has a podcast called The 30-Second Prayer. I want to encourage you to do that because it's a great opportunity for you to connect with God and talk through the gifts and talents that He's given you. And He can give you some direction as well, because I will tell you, as a business owner, it's so important to have God walking beside you when it comes to it. You invite him into your business and he will guide you and direct you with that. So that is tip number one. The second thing, after you have narrowed down what you want to do, I want you to commit to working it, to plan to work it for at least 6 to 12 months. When I started my business, that was my commitment, is I'm just going to keep trying it. I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to give up too soon, because you want to let things go. Businesses take a while to get going, and you're going to have to commit for the long haul. Now, I will tell you, when I started my podcast, I had committed to doing this podcast for a year, and I did it. And I also took a break after that, because I was like, you know what? I did it. I'm going to take a break and we'll see what God wants me to do. And here we are, coming back with a new series on how to start a business a couple years later. So I want to encourage you, as you are doing things, you are going to have to commit to doing something for a while, and then you might have to revisit 6 to 12 months later. Okay, what is working? What is not? Welcome to the entrepreneurship. We are always going to be working on ideas that we feel we're supposed to do. We work them, we massage them, and then we make some changes and we pivot. Some of them are soft pivots where we just kind of make a little bit of tweaks here and there. Some of them are hard pivots, like, we're done with the podcast. Let's take a break from that and we'll come back when we're ready. So I want you to do that. Next, we're going to have to do some research on what it looks like to start whatever business we want to do. Do you need to have specific certifications? Because, like, if you're in the service industry, if you want to be a therapist, you're probably going to want to learn how to do stuff. If you're going to be a bakery, I want you to figure out, is there specific certifications I have to have if I'm going to be making it inside of my home? There's lots of cottage bakeries that have to fall under specific laws depending on your state. So you're going to have to do some research. And this is why it's important to connect to, like, other business owners and other people in that field, because then you can ask them some of this information. You have to research. It's important to understand what you're getting into before you fully commit to the 6 to 12 months. Okay. So I want you to figure that out. If you're selling products, do you have a place where you can get wholesale information? You're going to figure out, do I need to lease a space? We got to figure out the costs when it comes to that. So there's lots of things. We can't just start a business on a whim. We have to do some research. We have to use some wisdom when it comes to that. And then we can start to formulate our plan. So you do your research. You make a commitment. I'm going to have to stick with this for 6 to 12 months. Now that I know this, okay, let's figure out what we're going to do to pick our name. So our name has to be relevant to what we're going to do. And yes, it can change. We're just thinking about how we can start. So we need to figure out a name. And how I picked out our name when I started my business is I really wanted to figure out how I could teach business owners like you the starting points when it comes to your business. So I knew that was the words when I was thinking about it, like start point. Those are the things, those are the two words that kept coming into my spirit that I felt like God was just giving me. So I was like, okay, how can I start a business? Picking out a name that has the word start point in it. So I didn't overthink it. I literally went to Google. And I just started Googling start point. What could I do? I was going to do, at the time, I was going to do media. So I had lots of things. I was going to do video. I was going to do editing. I was going to do public relations, anything with a camera. We were going to do lots of things. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do media. So I'm just going to Google a few things. And then that took me to GoDaddy. So go find a URL, like a website address that might fit your name. Okay, so I went in and I was looking at Start Point Marketing, Start Point Media, and I think Start Point Media, I couldn't remember. I should have researched before this podcast, but I don't think Start Point Media was available as a URL. But Start Point Media Group was a URL that was available. And you know what? That is how we came up with our business name. We found a URL that actually worked, and so we bought the URL, and that is how Start Point Media Group was built. So nothing fancy. I didn't see, something written in the sky. I didn't do anything. It was literally me, putting together in my brain, this is kind of the words that I want to use. Now let's fine tune it with whatever website was available, okay? Because you're going to need a website at some point. point, and you're going to need to have social media pages that are designated to those as well. So don't overthink things because it's going to change anyway. I still have the name Start Point Media Group, but my business has evolved over time and it's more about marketing. But I still keep media in there because it is broad enough that I could bring things in later if I wanted to. So I could go back to the original plan of how I wanted to be a PR firm. I wanted to do video. I wanted to do editing, all of those things. I kept the name group out there, media group out there, just in case I wanted to go back to it. So also consider the fact that it could be broad. Now, I will tell you, my son started his business and he's still in the starting processes of it. But when we were looking to start his photography business, he wants to go into sports photography. He was in high school. And so as he was graduating, I told my son, I'm like, okay, let's get your business up, at least started. Let's figure out a few things early on in your business so we are at least ready when you're ready to start it. Like actually, because he wanted to go to college, he wanted to get a few things figured out, but we knew in the end he wanted to start his business. So as we were figuring out, he knew he wanted to do sports photography, but we also know, sports photography is very niched down. So we wanted to keep things open. So he took the media word from me and we knew he didn't really know like an actual name, like Start Point Media Group. So we narrowed it down to his name. And so we have Trey, his name is Trey. But our last name is Jokums. So we both talked about the fact that there's a good chance nobody knows how to spell Jokums. Okay, let's be real. If you have a name like Smith or Jones, like that's easy. But when it comes to Jokums, nobody knows how to do that. So if somebody's going to be typing in Trey Jokums Media on like Google or an URL, there's a good chance they're not going to be able to find him or find him as easy. So we made the decision of we're just going to do Trey J Media. Okay, that's simple. So you don't have to overcomplicate it. Think of things that are short, sweet, and to the point. He could change his name down the road however he wants to, but we did Trey J Media. Media keeps it broad. Trey is his name. We didn't have to worry about spelling his last name. That is how we came up with his name. We also decided that we were going to do his website, and I will talk to you about that in a later podcast when it comes to that. But that is how he started his business. So as you are looking to start your business, let's keep it simple. Let's keep it somewhat broad so we have a little bit of opportunity to spread it out a little bit or make some ebbs and flows, some pivots or some changes. Let's keep that a little bit open-minded, but let's narrow down what we kind of want to do for our business, okay? So hopefully you understand it and make sure it's relevant to what you do. Because if my name was Start Point Media Group and I was actually like baking cookies, that doesn't make any sense, right? So I want you to make sure that it is relevant. Make sure you can find a URL that matches it. Sometimes that's the easiest way to do it, Don't overcomplicate your name. Just think about it, pick one and move on. We can change it down the road, okay? So I want you to make sure that you do that. Now, as you are looking for your URL, you can definitely search on GoDaddy. I would encourage you to do that. But I will also include a link in the show notes of where you can go to get your URL to buy it for cheaper. It is NameSilo. That is what I use. It's a little bit of an old website, which kind of makes me giggle that you can buy URLs there, but it's cheaper than GoDaddy. So I'll put that link in the show notes for you. That's where I have bought all of my URLs, and it's cheap and it's super helpful. So I want to encourage you. So this week, your homework as you are working on starting a business is you're going to pick out what your business is going to be. You're going to pick out your name. You're also going to do some research about it, and you're going to secure your URL. Okay, so that's your homework for the week. And don't forget to pray about what God wants you to do. That is also important. Go follow my friend Carol, her podcast on how you can connect with God on a whole new level and kind of talk through with the Lord on what you want to do. And don't forget to talk about what you want to do with important people in your life, your spouse, your friends that might be entrepreneurs as well. Or if you need some help, you can always reach out to me on social media. So let me know in the comments below what you're going to be doing once you figure out your name. I would love to know and cheer you on. So tune in next week as I'm going to teach you on what you're going to need to spend money on, because I guarantee you that was probably another thing that you were talking about as you were thinking about what your business is going to be, is like, okay, how much is this going to cost me? Don't worry. I'll help you with that in the next episode. So if you're following me on YouTube or if you're following me on a podcast, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you get the notification when I go live next week and talk about what you'll need to spend your money on.